required standards, know the quantity and the quality that has to be, for them to compete favorably with the rest of the market, among the other things that we do. But I would like to also highlight that we do issue a certificate of origin, non-preferential. These are for goods that are leaving Uganda. Of course, most of these agreements that we sign, they say that if...
The goods that leave Uganda?
Yes, those that leave Uganda, the ones that are being exported. The advantage with that is that when we sign, for example, when we sign these agreements, there's a preferential treatment that is given to a country that has already ratified or signed an agreement. So there's a preference that, for example, most of the Arab countries say that we prefer milk from Uganda, fruits from Uganda. So they want to know, is this product produced in Uganda? Is it manufactured in Uganda? Is it assembled in Uganda? And this is the only private sector association actually that offers that, the non-preferential certificate of origin. But when you do a lot of research, you get to identify so many things. So another core mandate that we do is that we do a lot of research in line with our business engagements. What are the challenges that the private sector is facing? How do we go around that? How is the performance of the private sector around us? How do we compete favorably with them? And then we do customized books that you can refer to, whether you're an academician, our business sectors, our government entities, development partners can rely on them. So those are some of the things that we do.
Well, that's very good. How about your membership? Who are your members? How do they join? And how do they even leave when they want to leave?
All right. One thing is that our membership is voluntary, unlike other countries where it's compulsory that you have to belong to a chamber of commerce.
In other countries, it is compulsory.
Yes, in other countries, it is part of government. So you can't get clearance from the government without being a member of chamber of commerce.
And here,
of course, here it's voluntary. Being in a liberalized economy, you cannot force people to belong to an association. But we are, like I said, our structures are on a regional based. We are also multi-sectoral in nature. So this membership is open to everyone in all sectors, whether it's services or goods. And of course, we move from the district level. So we have membership from our grassroots district parish level. And that's where we're trying to penetrate the parish model. And then we get into the district, then we get to the regional level, and then we get into the large, medium, small, large, and extra large enterprise. So of course we have different categories, but let me mention this, that once you're a member, you are a lifetime member. You can't leave. Because we have what they call a subscription fee. We also have the renewable membership fee. So once you pay your 10,000, you come
subscription.
Yes, that's
it's forever.
It's forever. We will forever count you as our member. Even if you decide to go to another country, unless you've expressed that you're no longer in business, you've run bankrupt, you've closed your company, but when you've paid your subscription fee of 10,000, you will forever be our member. But of course, our membership is on a renewable basis. Updated membership. We currently have 30,000 members.
30,000
yes.
Across the country?
Yes, across the country. And those are our updated members. But when we look at the people that originally subscribed, it's a bigger number. And for us, the reason why we consider everyone in the private sector to be our member is because we are the voice of private sector. Everywhere in the world, when you realize chambers of commerce will always be the voice of the private sector. International Chamber of Commerce says that for countries to be able to grow and develop, there has to be a particular chamber of commerce that runs the systems. So for us, we represent you, whether you've already subscribed or not subscribed, as long as you're part of the private sector.
With private sector interests. Who funds you?
Yes, so our membership funds us. That is number one, because we use the subscription and the membership fee that is collected to be able to run the activities of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce. But great appreciation, of course, goes to our development partners that have come in handy, especially in projects that they feel are very pertinent for the private sector. So most of the times we've had UNDP come in and join us, especially now for our project for the African Continental Free Trade Area. We have had USAID, we've had EU, we've had GIZ come in to sponsor our activities. But majorly, we rely on membership.
How about your parent ministry, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives?
Well, I think they have been very supportive with policy advocacy.
Policy issues.
Yes, policy issues, and giving us a platform to be able to share as much information that we get from our private sector. I would say that our relationship has greatly improved. We are getting a lot of positive feedback, a lot of support. They give us audience, they invite us for events where they need private sector representation. I would think that they're giving us the support that we require as Chamber of Commerce to get back on our feet.
Is membership individual, associations, groups, what?
So we have different categories of membership. We have individuals. As long as you're carrying out business, we encourage you to be part of Chamber. Whether you have a registered name, whether you're still in the informal sector, you're still encouraged to be part of the Chamber of Commerce. But then we go to different categories because we want people to be able to grow from their individual memberships to companies to large associations. So we have association membership. Those are associations that already are in a specific sector. For example, when you say UZIA represents the small scale industries association,
yes.
so we say, okay, you can come because you are a specific, you're a specific sector. So we
as UZIA.
Yes, as UZIA, you can
UMA
come in,
for
or CASITA, or whichever associations. We have over now 220 associations, forestry associations, horticultures, all those form part of the associations, the Indian Business Forum, among others. But down there we have what they call our platinum members. Our platinum members are those that are large companies. Call it Roofings Limited, maybe MTN. People, of course, we look at their net worth and also their existence and also their employability, how many people they take in employment, and also their contribution to the revenue. And then below there we have also our gold membership. That is also our medium companies that come in. We go down to the silver membership that goes now to the small. We even have for micro, bronze, up to the individual membership. So every person in the private sector is actually catered for. Everyone can belong somewhere, and the basic mandate of Chamber of Commerce are activities that can benefit all the membership. Of course, the different categories come with an added advantage, but things that we are mandated on a call to do are benefited by all the members.
Well, thank you very much. Now, there's something that we talk about here, and of course we talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Now, that's the big thing for Africa, and of course we look at it as a game changer for the continent of Africa. And this is where we're all going. We're looking at a block of a billion plus people. That's how big the market is now. Look at all these others. But just before we get even into the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the municipal projects or programs that we have. For example, back here in Uganda, we talk about the PDM, and we're looking at lifting the 39% also out of poverty and bringing them into the money economy. I want to see what UNCCI is actually doing to, first of all, see how we implement this, because even before we talk about the opportunities that we get at the Continental Free Trade Area, what happens to the 39% of Ugandans that we're struggling and grappling with to see that we also get them into the money economy through the PDM?
All right, thank you so much for that question, and it's very pertinent for us. Even for us, before the PDM came into existence, we're looking at Uganda having one of the largest population and also being the youngest population. So at the end of the day, we need to be able to say two things. One, that it could come as an advantage, it could also come as a disadvantage. Why do I say that? With a population, if it is that big, if it is not employed or employable, it becomes difficult for you to get it into the money economy, like we say. But for us at Chamber of Commerce, we are advocating a lot for skill development, and we've partnered with quite a number of agencies to make sure that people are not relying on saying, I need a white-collar job, an office job. There's a lot of work that can be done in businesses. We've started youth, we've started women, we've started other categories of Ugandans in different skill training, so that they're able to earn a living. We have a team that we're training now in honey making. We have a team that we are training in hands-on skilling programs for the youth, so that we are able to employ as many people as possible. When you look at statistics of Uganda, I realize that the private sector actually employs more more than 98%. That means that we employ almost everyone in Uganda. But of course, for us to be able to employ them, it's not a day of saying, I have gone to work. It shows, one, productivity. How much are you taking there? Two, not just productivity. What is the quality of productivity? So we try with the skilling, with the quality and the level of production. So the training is that we are moving from that. We are moving from the mindset of saying that we are the most educated. Everyone can go to class, but are we the most skilled? And how do we get skills polished up so that we're able, to advocate for more areas of, work environment and be able to do more productivity and more quality productivity in Uganda today. So that is mainly what we're doing at Uganda National Chamber of Commerce, to see how many people we're able to employ through the skill development and through business development advocacy here in Uganda.
And do you see the government as moving in the right direction when you talk about the PDM, for example?
Yes, okay, the policy is really okay. I do not have a problem with the policy. The whole idea behind the Polish model is very, very good. Of course, the implementation is that there's need to involve the already existing associations on ground. If you decide to move and say, okay, we're giving money to LCs and we're giving money to, the
Parish
leaders,
chiefs
parish chiefs and among others, are you sure that is the best way to have this done? When I tell you that for me as a Chamber of Commerce agency, I have a Chamber of Commerce representative at the grassroots level, I know that maybe because through my agency that is on ground, he knows that this is the business that is working for this village, this is how far we've gone, this is someone who has worked through their skills and they're able to take on this particular amount of money and make it work, or this one will not do. And then there's, of course, structure of accountability, that if there's an agency that is there, they work with the commercial officers to be able to move to the district level, to be able to move to the regional level, so that you're able to account for how much growth this has brought in. So for me, I would want to advocate that the government can take on the already established systems that we have, since this represents private sector, business engagements, different trainings, and be able to use those structures that we have for proper, accountability, and also to be able to yield fruits of what they're trying to do.
Okay, very important. Now, when we talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, you notice that when you look at the way the African continent is segmented, it's got about 8 regional blocks, and these are predominantly economic blocks. As we can talk about them, the Africa, the Arab Maghreb, you talk about the ESC, the IGA, the COMESA, SADC, etc., ECOWAS, etc. And we're trying to think, how have these performed? COMESA, for example, the ESC, IGAD, and all the others, how have they performed economically before we even jump into the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which we think is now the game changer that we have, that will revolutionize this continent of $2.6 trillion, smaller than German, Japan, UK, and everybody else.
Okay, one thing is that I wouldn't say that they have not performed. They have just not performed as expected.
Okay.
And I will explain why. When all these trade agreements are put into existence, you need to go deeper. If you just put a paper and you say there's a trade agreement that binds us, that guides us to do this, that guides us to do this, without giving the protocols that should cover the guidance, the rules of procedures for those protocols, it becomes very difficult for people to comply. I will give you a very good example. I don't even want to go past East Africa because we already have an agreement here in Africa, in East Africa, that binds us. But you realize that we have had a lot of blockages.
Exactly.
As Uganda, we are not able to take our milk somewhere. We are not able to take our rice somewhere.
Our maize.
We are not able to take our maize. Also, the countries that have even blocked us completely, we are not even able to move there until very recently. This means that without having the protocols that cover all those things, it is very difficult for us to implement trade agreements. So it eventually, the excitement of it, having it there, and president sign, and then eventually it ceases to exist because there's nothing that binds them or nothing that controls when they fail to implement that. Now, the African Continental Free Trade Market is actually a bit different. It goes deeper on the protocols that should be able to cover the performance and the implementation of this trade agreement. It goes deeper to trade remedies. it goes deeper to dispute resolution mechanism. It goes deeper to what are the rules of origin, what are we looking at, what are the procedures that have to be, complied with, what happens when someone does not comply. That is how deeper it goes. And for me, that is why I feel like it's a game changer for the African Continental Free Trade Area, because then it binds us, it gives, penalties, it gives, ways of procedures, it gives even a dispute resolution mechanism. At the end of the day, if someone steals my goods from South Africa, I know that there's going to be a harmonized dispute mechanism for me to be able to get recourse for something that has been done. So it is a bit different. Of course, all these trade agreements could have worked if the drafters or people that worked on them could have gone deeper on that. But I realized that we learned from the previous agreements, and now we are taking it deeper to the specifics of that covers all the protocols for operations.
How should the Mwananchi, how should your individual member of the UNCCI benefit from what we talk about? Because when you talk about the Continental Free Trade Zone, the Continental Free Trade Area, someone wants to think, what is this? Why is this market? What do they have to do? I'm looking at an individual, an individual Jagenda Semakula, who is actually watching, or they want to tap into that. Where do they start? Where do they go? And where do they even find what you call the Africa Continental Free Trade Area?
Okay, so I am just going to go a bit slowly so that I am able to explain it in detail. So when we talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area, we are talking about establishment of a common single continental free market for African countries. We are talking about one of the largest, trade agreements. We are even comparing it with the World Trade Organization. Way back to its existence. So this is in line with, of course, participating countries. We anticipated that we'll have 54 countries participate. Most of them have ratified, more than 52, which is a very good number. It also provides us more than 1.2 billion people. That is the biggest market in the world. So, of course, when we zero it down, we're looking at the areas that it is focusing on. Liberalization of trade in goods and services. But liberalization of trade and goods and services cannot exist without the movement of people regionally. And this is supposed to really help with the economic integration. But just to break it a little bit down, is that for you're able to transact with any country in Africa with either reduced tariffs or non-tariffs on it. People have had so many challenges, because when you want to take your goods to South Africa, when you want to take your goods to Nigeria, when you want to take your goods to Ghana, you will find so many tariffs. And after penetrating the market, you will still find the competitor that did not face those tariffs. That means that your products will be high priced. And eventually you run out of the market. But now, this is an opportunity for you to know that I will move, get clearance from, because eventually there's something that they're working on, and that is the harmonized the customs union. So if all those tariffs and everything, once they have been negotiated and cleared, then you can take your goods to Nigeria and on a reduced tariff or non-tariff, and then be able to compete favorably with the market. How do the Mwananchis benefit? The truth is that you can only benefit if you're ready. We are talking quality and quantity. Because when they open, there's one of my wise friends always says that when the table is set, you're either sitting at that table to discuss the menu, or you become the menu. So that means that we are open as Ugandans. We are open for this market. Uganda will decide to either become the menu and be discussed,
or discuss the menu.
So at the end of the day, how prepared are you as a Mwananchi? We are looking at quality. Countries, just because they have opened up their markets, are not going to be allowing any type of quality. There's a quality assurance that has to be done in terms of quantity, and of course this comes with the government and the private sector to be able to join forces and advocate for a trade policy that strictly focuses on the SMEs training with the quality and the quantity that is required. I would also like to hint on the bid for service provision, because it allows movement, mobility of people to go and trade and be able to engage human resources. I am a lawyer by profession, so it gives me a lot of excitement when I hear them talking about, you know, the alternative measures for dispute resolution, because then I know that I can take my services to Rwanda, I can take my services outside the Great Lakes region and be able to transact and compete favorably. But even those people that offer services will also meet competition. So how ready are you to be able to compete favorably, and someone from Ghana picks you out of the crowd and says, no, I want this service because I feel it is quality, because I feel it is my value for the money. So that is how we prepare ourselves, because even me, I consider myself as a mwana inchi, but also the people that are now on the grassroots level. How do I get from the informal sector? How do I get a TIN? How do I look at my quality? How do I get a Q mark? How do I get the standard of, you know, taking one step to go to Congo, taking one step to tap the waters? How do I join forces with the available partnerships in Nigeria to make sure that if I'm able to produce maybe cocoa butter or something, there's someone in Nigeria that we can harmonize, partner together and be able to make it bigger in quantity that is required.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Owom Jisha Blessing Immaculate, Acting Secretary General of the Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and of course with me here on Good Morning Uganda Extra today, discussing the impact of the Africa Continental Free Trade Zone area on Uganda, and of course the Ugandan economy. We'll take a break and return. When we come back, we'll still carry on with the same conversation up to the hour of 10 o'clock this morning, before we'll say goodbye to you. But we'll take a break and return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Football packages, great entertainment,
sports, the local content, telenovela, the movies. There is something for everybody. Everybody, Go TV. This is where great stories live.
Get the best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Ugandan shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
The Ministry of Public Service invites all ministries, departments, agencies and the general public to the 11th Africa Public Service Day, APSD, scheduled to take place on the 22nd of June 2022 at Kololo Independence Grounds. The theme for this year's APSD is Bringing Citizens and Governments Closer, Service Delivery for Social Economic Transformation. The chief guest for the day will be the Right Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Robina Nabanja. There will also be different exhibitions from the different ministries and agencies, and the public is encouraged to have a walk-through to find out the services provided and the new innovations that have been put in place for efficient service delivery. Signed, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Public Service.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have two projects. One is for construction of my house. Two is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning once again, and thank you so much. Welcome back from the break. We continue the conversation. My name is Jagat Semakola Ziksoka on UBC TV. Good Morning Uganda Extra with Owom Jisha Blessing Immaculate, the Acting Secretary General of the Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry here today, talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Zone or Free Trade Area. And had you told me how different it is from all what we've had before?
Yes, I had. Just to re-emphasize, of course, it's in its broad and its ability to cover some of the loopholes that we've had before. I had highlighted before that when you look at the other protocols, or the other trade agreements, their trade agreements are very, very, very good. But when you look at the protocols that are supposed to cover some of the specifications for implementations, they're not very elaborate, and they give a loophole in making sure that, you know, the trade agreement is there, but I can use my protectionism policy as a country and be able to stop goods that are coming from Uganda. I can also use my alternative laws that I have in my country to be able to, you know, miss out on some of the benefits that another country would have. We do not have, I will give an example specifically on the protocol that covers trading in goods and services, specifically for the African Continental Free Trade Area. It goes in detail on the rules of origin, it goes in detail on the rules and procedures that are supposed to be followed, on the dispute resolution mechanism, on the trade remedies in case there's, you know, a conflict, in case there are blockages, in case there's a problem with, of course, transit of goods and services. It is that detailed. It has gone deep in making sure that it has covered all the different protocols that are supposed to help with the implementation of this trade agreement. So that is specifically how it is different from the other trade agreements that have existed before.
Very important. Now you've talked about and overemphasized on quality assurance. You've talked about quantity and, of course, competitiveness as a country. And I'm looking at Uganda, of course, as one of the players, one of those that have actually ratified or assented to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And just look at our competitiveness, look at the level of our quality assurance, etc. Where are we? Do you see ourselves there? Get into agriculture, for example. When you get into agribusiness, you notice that one of the challenges that we have as a country is a post-harvest handling, where many of our people do things the way they want. But then talk about all the other qualities. We have issues here by ourselves, where you get to something and the quality is, and we say, this is Uganda. So just look at that. Do you look at ourselves now from your angle as the Chamber of Commerce? Do you see ourselves being that competitive in terms of quality assurance, etc.?
Okay, thank you so much, Agenda. So I want to start on a positive note, because when you start on a positive note, then you can give a few criticisms that can be taken on a positive note. So one thing is that Uganda has a lot to benefit from African Continental Free Trade Area per se. We are already getting a lot of export earnings in Africa alone compared to non-African countries. That means that we're already exporting a lot in Africa compared to other African countries. It improves our revenue, it increases our GDP, it also gives us jobs, it also gives us market for our produces. So we should, as Ugandans, be very excited about it. And I would like to commend the government of Uganda, because it is taking deliberate efforts to make sure that we are prepared. I'm just going to highlight maybe like two or three. The first one is, of course, we talk about the infrastructure development. When we look at the roads that are being constructed, it's to make sure that we have a conducive environment to transport our goods, you know, to Congo, to so many other, you know, roads that have been, of course, passed by the parliament. When we look at the construction of the dams, it means that they're trying to make it very easy for us to do production, manufacturing, value addition, among others. There are quite a number of policies that have been introduced. When you look at, for example, Bubo is saying that inward production, let's focus on our production here in Uganda. When you look at, you know, value addition that is being heavily advocated now by the government, you see that they're trying so hard to make sure that we are prepared, that we are getting there, that we are ready, you know, to compete favorably. They're also, of course, advocating for single window, for the, you know, one-stop center on the border, among others. But it is also very important for us to highlight some of the things that that need to be worked on. And this is not just to blame, you know, the government, but also as the private sector, both of us have a role to play to make sure that we are not letting ourselves down. The first thing that you need to know is that when you understand the size of the Ugandan economy, you will know that we are a relatively small-sized economy, and that comes with, if we have a high cost of carrying out business or doing production, it becomes very difficult for us to compete favorably with the rest of the world. When I talk about the high cost of carrying out business or engagement, this is maybe caused by the regulatory burden that we have on taxes. We cannot afford, you know, accessibility to affordable financing. We are really struggling with that. Even with the help of the government that has come in, the interest rate is still high. The bureaucracy in acquisition of these funds, the requirement of collaterals that we are not able to take in as SMEs, and also because for us, we have import competition. There's a lot of importation that is done because Uganda, people already say that Uganda is a liberalized economy, that we have, you know, capital profit repatriation for people that have brought in their goods, but that also affects the growth of the domestic industry here in Uganda. The other thing is that, of course, we are looking at the similarities of the productions that we are doing. Most of the African countries, you'll be shocked, we say that agriculture is our, you know, backbone. Another country will be saying agriculture is our backbone. The other country will be saying agriculture is our backbone. So the similarity in the goods that we are producing means that we have to stand out. There's need in quality and quantity. If you're saying that Uganda has the best pineapples, let them be consistently best.
Exactly.
Let them not say that the first consignment was very good, the second consignment had, the third consignment, we even disposed it off. You get, at the end of the day, we need to be consistently very good so that they know that Uganda has a cooperative advantage over any other production that is being done. And of course, I also want to comment on what Uganda could do better in line with the customs and the procedural protection of goods that leave Uganda. What happens if I am at the border for any neighboring country or country that is not even neighboring, because now we're talking at Africa in general? What happens when I have problems with police blockages, for example? What happens if my goods are not allowed to transit, maybe Congo? What happens, what are the procedures that I have to follow? Do I have to bribe an officer? Do I have to be there with my truck the whole day? Because we are carrying pineapples that get spoiled if they are there for a very long time and there's no solution. So there's need for those policies. When we talk about those policies for implementations, in fact, I must highlight that we are yet to even get a trade implementation policy strategy for Uganda, for the African Continental Free Trade Area. And that is a bit dangerous in a way, because if you do not have a trade policy, then how are you going to be able to train the SMEs to be able to engage internationally? If you do not have a protection, customs protection implementation strategy, how are you going to be able to protect your people when they are getting out? So I know that we are yet to get there, but once the market opens, it has opened. Whether you have these policies or you don't have the policies, as long as you ratified, which Uganda has rightly done, then the market is open to the rest of the 52 countries in Africa. Okay,
now that's very important. You talked about something very eye-catching here, and that's of course infrastructure. And look at all those things. For example, we have a mindset problem that when you look at the parish development model, one of the pillars in there is actually a mindset. Why? Because we think and feel the mind is not right on some of these things, and that's why we actually maybe just rotating around the same circle forever. When you look at the ESC vision, I think, which is 2050, also it highlights and talks about something called a mindset. Uganda's NDP3 has a whole chapter, I think it's chapter 18, that talks about mindset. You go to the Africa Dream 2063, it talks about many of these things. Now, it just seems and shows that we as a continent have a mindset problem. And I'll show you one thing. you are talking about infrastructure, and we talk about this big market of 1.2 billion plus people. You talk about a market over 53, 54 states. You talk about a market that involves everybody and every one of us. But yet again, when you say Uganda is building a road to go to the depth of Congo, Owamjisha in Uganda will say, Tetuina Kusalama Road, we don't have a road that goes to Salama. And Patrick Ratoro will say, Busabala Road is not even constructed, and you actually want to build a road. Now, the mind of how would we even build a road that takes us to Congo when we don't have a road in Kawempe? Now, you find these issues there. When you go to Ethiopia, one of the things that they're working on, that is also another game changer to the continent, is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now, they are guard there. Then you will find another country, Egypt, struggling with that. Sudan is also struggling with that. And at the end of the day, because if you have that there, you go to Congo itself, the Ingo dams, if you have the Ingo dams built and they are there, they all just add on to everything you talk about, subsidize and see how we actually get there. But the mindset problem where, when you say this is what we want to do, and somebody says, but how can you even get there? Now, I want to look at you from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the mindset of our people, that you are presenting and bringing all these very good ideas and opportunities that are endless and limitless. But are you talking to people who seem to understand or see where you're going, or you are only preaching until the Lord Jesus Christ returns and takes us to heaven?
Thank you so much, Mr. Jagenda, and that is a very, very crucial question in all this African continental free trade area. If our private sector people do not appreciate it, then we're not going anywhere. Even the government can say, we have already ratified, you can benefit from this.
Exactly.
But without them being on board, where will you get the goods? Where will you get the services? In fact, you can get the goods and services, but they will be consistent with their poor quality and they will not go anywhere. So as Uganda National Chamber of Commerce, we have been doing a regional awareness campaign to get everyone on board. Of course, everyone will come at their own pace on board, but we do not want to be blamed that we did not share as much information as possible. To help people understand that there's a reason why construction of the Congo road might be a bit more important than construction of another road, because we are looking at how much, how much money we'll be able to get, how much revenue, how much exposure, how much employment opportunities, how are we taking our goods there. You need to be able to weigh and say, okay, this is a priority, yes, very, very good, and I advocate for making of the roads in Uganda. In fact, I advocate that the roads that we're making go down to even the production centers. But also it's important for you to know that without infrastructure development, there are some things that are not able to move from one country to another, and that is where we're getting. So for us as Chamber of Commerce, we are on a go. We have so far gone to 7 regions, and appreciation goes to our partner UNDP for having made sure that we're able to create the awareness that is required. People ask all sorts of questions. Isn't this African continental free trade area coming down to make sure that it crashes down our local industry? If you're not ready, it will, because for them they're producing almost the same things you're producing, so they're competing heavily with you. Isn't it going to, make sure that they substitute our services? How are we going to compete with our service industry when they're already, very high with their service industry? It will, if we are not preparing our own people. So we are making sure that by the time, and thank God we have, of course, once the ratification happened, of course they say, okay, now let's discuss the reduction in tariffs, and that happened already in 2021. So 2022 we're actually supposed to be opening up for trade. The advantage is that, of course, they're still discussing the rules of procedure as of now, and which is also very important, because once we delay in the rules of procedure, then we can be also putting our house in order, so that by the time we finish the rules of procedures, and then we are able to also be on board and say, this is what we bring on the market, this is what we're taking there. I must say that we've received a lot of very positive feedback in regards to the mindset change that we are doing. People ask as many questions as possible. People are preparing themselves. People are registering their companies. People are working on their quality. They're taking on programs to make sure that they compete favorably with the rest of the world. And we are believing that eventually We might not say 90% will come on board. Of course, there are people that will always not be on board, but at least we'll have a very good number. 78% come on board to join us for the African Continental Free Trade Area.
What are some of the successes we look at from when we launched the operational phase maybe of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, from at the time we launched it, got it and said, well, here it is now for us to run about with and talk about and propagate and tell the people. What are some of these things that we can say that, yes, in a year or two, we've actually managed to get it here and the people seem to appreciate what we're talking about?
Okay, one of the successes that I actually would start with is ratification. The
ratification.
Ratification is very important because if you do not ratify, then they say, okay, now in Africa, you know, I don't want to mention country or two that have not yet ratified, but they have already been considered out of the bloc. Okay. So for us, at least we put our leg in and said, okay, we are willing as long as we agree on the rules of procedures, as long as we agree on the protocols that we are discussing currently. So ratification is one of the successes that I can count, because then they can say now that we are among the biggest market. Uganda is one of the biggest markets, but not just as a market, but also as a service provider, also as a good provider in that market. So yes, now we are there, we are competing. That's one of the success stories. The other success story that I can say is that we have extensively created awareness for this African Continental Free Trade Area. Someone might not know about the protocol that you're talking about, or maybe the articles and the clauses that you're going to quote, but at least a youth somewhere is saying that, yes, I think there's bias in the youth and the women and what the services they can provide. So this is also another success story, because now everyone knows that there's a free, general, single continental free trade area that all of us can benefit from. Now, on the details of non-tariff and tariff barriers, this is something that has to be localized, put in different languages, whether they have to put diagrams and pictures and in a way maybe make songs out of it for people to be able to appreciate it. That's on a different stage. But also one of the other success stories, achievements that I can say is that we are doing research, and research is a core value in knowing how you're going to trade. This research will help you identify that Egypt is my market for pineapples, Congo is my market for this, this is my market for this. It is not a good thing for you to join a market of 1.5, 1.2 billion people blindfolded. You do not know where you're taking your goods. You don't know your competitors. You don't know where you have a comparative advantage. You don't know which people produce the same things. You don't know the tariff barriers. It is, you would be killing yourself. So it's one of the achievements that I will highlight, because the research that is undergoing, that is going to be shared very soon, is that this research helps us to know that yes, the market is very open for Uganda, but which country should we focus on? Okay. Which goods should we focus on? Where are we taking them? Who are our target markets? Who are our competition? And how do we deal with the tariff barriers that are there?
Okay, very important. And finally, what would you want to say finally before we get out of studios in the next 1 minute?
All right, thank you so much, Jagenda, for hosting. And this is really important. And don't stop talking about African Continental Free Trade Area, because this is going to be a discussion for yet another decade for us to be able to discuss it. But I want to highlight this, that whereas it is the government job to work on trade policies, it is also the work of the private sector to make sure that they prepare themselves in quality and quantity. You won't get it wrong, because even if you're competing with someone in South Africa, if your quality is good, they will always know that it is good. Just like it is highlighted that the quality of our pineapples is top notch. You cannot go anywhere. Everyone will tell you that. So I implore our private sector people to work on the quality and the quantity, as the government is also working on the trade policy, because without a trade policy strategy, we are not able to go anywhere. So let the government play its part, but also me, on behalf of the private sector, I implore all of us in the private sector to play our part to make sure that we are not a menu on the table, but we are
discussing
the menu.
Thank you very much. Owomjisha Blessing Immaculate, the Acting Secretary General of the Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you so much for gracing us this interview, and of course for allowing to join me and of course being with us here this morning on Good Morning Uganda Extra. We'll stop the conversation here, but like you said, we will continue to talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade area. For decades, it won't be a conversation of in and out, but we can continue to talk about it because it's a game changer for all of us as the continent of Africa. For God and my country, my name is Jagenda Sevakola Ziksoka, wishing you all the best. We'll talk again tomorrow. Blessings and shalom. Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.